not idolize avoiding sin? Do you kind of get?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So Romans 6:14 says that sin has no dominion over us anymore. We're no longer under the law, but we are under grace. So you ever notice the more you focus on trying to stop sinning, the harder it gets? Because it says in 2 Corinthians 15 that the power of sin is found in the law. So the more we focus on sinning less and the more we focus on, okay, I better not do this, I better not do that, the more power we give to the sin. But the more that we focus on the cross and we focus on what Jesus already accomplished, because Jesus said it is finished. He didn't say that just for fun. He said that for a reason, because he truly finished it. And that's why it says in Romans 6:14, like we said, sin has no dominion over us any longer. So we were slaves to sin before. And when you're a slave to something, it doesn't matter how hard you try to get out of it. You're always going to be enslaved to the master. And that master was obviously sin. So that's why we see so much, when we try to stop sinning, it never works. It can only work for a little bit when we try super hard, but then we always fall back because the master is sin. So we had no choice. It didn't matter how much we tried. We were always going to be enslaved to that. But when you see that Jesus not only died for your sins, but Jesus died to make you new. And when you see that Jesus made you new, Jesus set you free from sin, and he actually made you a slave to righteousness now. And you focus on the truth of where your identity stands. Where does your identity stand? It says in Romans 6:11 that we are dead to sin and alive in God through Christ. It says in Hebrews 10:14 that we have been perfected once and for all. Hebrews 10:10, it says that we have been sanctified through the offering of the body of Jesus Christ once and for all, past tense. 1 Corinthians 6:11 says that we've been washed and we have been sanctified, past tense. So when you start to see all this, instead of identifying yourself as a sinner trying to stay away from sin and get better, you need to identify yourself as a righteous saint already, just learning how to walk that out. You're righteous already, just being deceived by Satan to fall back into your old nature. But this is why our flesh was crucified with Christ. And this is why Paul says it's no longer I who live, but Christ in me. And this is also why Jesus says, apart from me, you can do nothing. So I'll land the plane for you. When you accept that you literally cannot do anything apart from Jesus, when he says that it is literal, it's not just like some metaphor, he means that literal. And you accept, I could never do it myself, because if I could have done it myself, Jesus would have never had to die. God, you have to do it for me. Now you start focusing and fixing your eyes on Jesus, the author and finisher of your faith, as it says in Hebrews 12:2. And the more that you fix your eyes on him, and the less that you fix your eyes on sin, sin naturally is just going to lose power in your life. Because remember, you're no longer under the law. Sin has no dominion over you. So if you just simply believe that truth and you believe what God declares over you and what God has made you already, then you're going to start moving from that identity. And if you move from that identity, you're going to move differently. You're going to move confidently. Just like we were sinners before we produced sin as a byproduct, now that we're righteous and perfected, we're going to produce righteousness and good fruits as a byproduct of the nature. Does that make sense?